Driven by an unquenchable thirst for global power, China has overtaken the United States as South America's top trading partner. This bold move is shown by constructing a megaport in Chan. The Chan Port is more than just an economic venture. It's the dawn of a new era in international relations, where age-old ties are tested and new power surfaces. Is China's interest solely on business, or is there a hidden agenda? Join us as we consider China in South America. Chinese megaport in Peru. In September 2023, a group of farmers and officials from Brazil interested in a growing Chinese megaport on the Pacific coast, which is expected to make South America's trade connections with China much stronger, went to Chancay, a Peruvian fishing village. The port, valued at $3.5 billion, is set to start operating later this year and serves as a strategic entry port for China into the resource-rich region. In the past 10 years, Beijing's become the main trade partner for South American nations, surpassing the U.S. This shows a strong demand for products like soy, corn, and copper. The port, mainly owned by the Chinese state-operated company COSCO Shipping, is the first of its kind in South America under Chinese control. It's designed to handle large cargo ships, providing a more direct route to Asia and potentially reducing transit times for certain exports by up to 2 weeks. Juan Matthew Salazar, Peru's trade minister, highlighted the importance of the Chancay port in turning Peru into a key commercial and port connection between South America and Asia. This project is part of China's expansive Belt and Road Initiative, now a decade old, reflecting the challenge faced by the United States and Europe in dealing with Beijing's growing influence in Latin America. China's strong trade abilities have allowed it to gain allies and influence in various areas, including politics, finance, and technology. Construction in Chancay began in 2018, about 80 kilometers north of Lima, and the site is currently busy with activity as workers build piles and breakwaters, with signs prominently displaying Chinese characters. The port's initial phase is expected to be completed by November 2024, aligning with the potential attendance of Chinese President Xi Jinping at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation in Peru, where he might officiate the port's inauguration. China's involvement in Lima has not gone unnoticed. COSCO Shipping, holding a 60% stake in the port, sees this as part of China's modern Silk Road. The remaining stake is owned by the local mining company Vulcan, partly owned by Glencore. Brazilian entrepreneur Jose Adriana da Silva, who visited the port, sees the project as a catalyst for regional development. Ongoing discussions between Peruvian and Brazilian officials aim to address transportation challenges across their borders. Plans are in progress for an exclusive economic zone near the port, and COSCO aims to establish an industrial hub in Chancay for processing raw materials, potentially including Brazilian grains and meat before shipment to Asia. The Brazilian ambassador to Peru, Clemente B. Suarez, mentioned upcoming meetings to address logistical and bureaucratic challenges, facilitating smoother access for Brazilian trucks to the port. This development is particularly significant for grain and meat production in western Brazilian states like Rondônia, Acre, Mato Grosso, and the Amazonas, providing easier access to Asian markets through Chancay. Improvements are required for the Interoceanic Highway, which currently offers a route from southern Peru across the Andes to Brazil. To enhance connectivity, a proposed rail link still in the study phase could further bolster these transport routes. Alliance's impact on the United States. During Donald Trump's administration, China did better than the United States in its connections with Central and South America. Even though President Biden tried to change this, the gap got bigger. This made United States officials focus on more than just trading, like putting money into advanced industries to keep their influence in the area. Juan Gonzalez, who advises the White House and is in charge of the Western Hemisphere at the National Security Council, says that only looking at trade numbers doesn't show how much influence China has. He believes in the competitiveness of the United States and thinks trade should happen without political conditions. China says its trade investments in Latin America help both sides, mentioning that 150 countries, including 22 from Latin America, took part in the Belt and Road Initiative in the last 10 years. Peru's trade with China doubled, reaching $33 billion in 2022 because of bigger copper exports. On the other hand, trade with the United States stayed the same. China puts a lot of money into Peruvian industries like mining, power, transportation, and making electricity from water. Last year, Peru sold more to China than the United States, creating a big trade surplus with China and a deficit with the United States. At a recent APEC forum in San Francisco, Peru's president, Diablo Duarte, talked with China's Xi Jinping about the Chancay Port project. This shows how important China's investment and trade with Peru are becoming. On the other hand, when President Bolsonaro met with United States President Joe Biden in Washington, it wasn't a full meeting. This might mean the United States isn't as involved in the region. Experts like Eric Farnsworth, who used to advise the White House and work for the State Department and is now connected with the Council of the Americas and America Society, thinks China's role in projects like the Chancay Port is a big deal. It shows a change in how China deals with the region and a more confident China than before. Even with problems in China's Belt and Road Initiative in Asia and Europe and growing debts, its influence in South America seems to be getting stronger. South America needs money and investments, so it's hard for the United States to tell local governments not to take money from China. With a lot of interest worldwide in South American things like lithium, copper, and grains, the continent's a new battleground for big players like the United States, Europe, and China. As the story goes on, it's clear that the Chancay Port is more than just a project for building things. It shows big changes in how the world works, affecting trade, politics, and how countries relate in the Western Hemisphere and beyond. China Latin America economic engagement. Since becoming part of the World Trade Organization in 2001, China has had a thriving external trade, making a big presence in important Latin American industries like digging stuff out of the ground, talking over long distances, making electricity, and power. China's economic connections with Latin America show up in three main ways: trading, official investments from other countries, and two-way loans. The reason why China finds Latin America attractive to invest in has been the same for the last 20 years. China likes to sell more things and looks for markets to do that, especially in fancy technology products and services. They also want to get resources, so they've been trading goods like crops as the foundation for their relationship over the last 2 decades. China's especially interested in soy from Latin America to deal with the problems of having enough food at home. The area is also important for China's overall energy safety plans, which is why they keep dealing with Venezuela even when there are problems. Putting money directly into important areas through buying companies, taking over, and investing is another part of how China gets involved. From 2005 to 2020, China put more than $130 billion in the region, with a lot of it going to certain countries, like $60 billion to Brazil, $27 billion in Peru, $27 billion in Chile, and $12 billion in Argentina. In the years from 2000 to 2010, most of the Chinese investments in Latin America went to industries that take things out of the ground, especially mining and oil in South America. Belt and Road Initiative and infrastructure development. The Belt and Road Initiative, started by China in 2013, is a global plan for building things like roads and bridges in over 150 countries. It fits with China's aim to be a major global leader. By August 2023, 155 countries, covering almost 75% of the world's people, and more than half the world's money have joined this plan. Originally made to connect East Asia to Europe, the plan expanded to include Africa and Latin America. In 2022, Argentina formally agreed, and now 21 out of 33 Latin American and Caribbean countries are part of the plan. China's change in investments, going beyond basic materials and energy, now includes various areas like things people buy, money services, industry things, phones and internet, and essential services. While becoming part of the Belt and Road Initiative is seen as a way to get approval from China, there are arguments, especially with the United States and Europe. The effect on economies is different, with some countries not involved getting a lot of money from China. The plan has led to spending on transportation and building things, causing worry in the Americas, where the Chinese government-owned companies are part of about 40 port projects, including some in important water routes like the Panama Canal. China's interest goes beyond building things to sensitive areas like space. Running a deep space ground station in Argentina has raised worries about possible military use and not enough supervision by the host country. China's involvement in Latin American communications, especially through companies like Huawei, creates more concern. Even though the United States says no to selling to Huawei, economic reasons make Latin American countries think twice about doing the same. China's interest in the region is not just about technology, but also getting important materials like lithium, copper, and nickel for global green energy plans, making its presence stronger in Latin America. Challenges and future prospects. China has helped countries facing money problems a lot, which is usually done by big international groups like the IMF and the World Bank. Starting in 2005, China's government-owned banks have given large loans totaling $136 billion to different countries, focusing on places like Brazil, Ecuador, and Venezuela. These loans usually have lower interest rates than what these countries could get in public markets, and they often come with special conditions. For example, China might give loans to countries that agree to work with Chinese companies on big projects like roads and bridges. These loans are in China's money, the yuan, making it easier to pay in China's money and reducing the need for US dollars. So when it's countries like Bolivia and Ecuador facing money problems, It's hard for them to say no to China's terms, making people worry about the outcomes of this complicated relationship. Other countries, especially in the West, haven't given good alternatives, leaving Latin American nations with few choices. After the big money crisis in 2008, American companies left the region, giving China a chance to invest in important industries. Venezuela, for example, got help from Chinese loans and agreed to trade oil for loans in 2007. But when the United States put sanctions and had problems in Venezuela affecting oil production, China had to give more time for the country to pay back its debt. This made China think about how it lends money, and between 2021 and 2022, China renegotiated $52 billion in loans. Now, they're moving towards spending smaller loans that are carefully checked instead of big loans, depending only on governments promising to pay them back. Even with these changes, China still wants to be involved in Latin America because it relies on important natural resources from the region. As long as leaders in Latin America welcome Chinese investments and trade, China's influence in the area is likely to keep growing. Thanks for watching. While you're still here, click on the link appearing on your screen to watch another one of our videos. See you there.